Are you killing your houseplants by being too nice to them? That expensive ceramic pot could be the death sentence for your plant. I'm NickFederoff. I used to work at a wholesale and a retail nursery, and we sold tons of houseplants. Now, here's the truth. Many houseplants actually want to be root bound. I'm going to show you the 1-inch rule and, without buying anything special, a test that'll tell you exactly when to repot. But first, hit that like button and subscribe. Now, let's bust the biggest houseplant myth you've probably been believing. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. How about the house planting potting myth? Now, it seems to me that people sometimes they get all crazy and they figure, I see a root coming out of the bottom of the container. I got to repot up the plant. That isn't necessarily so. And the other problem is that we do have a rule that when we are repotting, that we only want to go up 1 inch more than what the size of the container that it's exactly in. But a lot of people will think, you know what? Yeah, I know. I'm going to get myself a big, 24-inch size pot, ceramic. It cost me $5,000, and I'm going to put this little pothos plant or whatever it is inside this container and just watch it grow, and then they watch it die. And the reason why they watch it die is because it's too much. Some houseplants, many houseplants, most houseplants actually want to live in a confined kind of area. And just because they're manifesting a couple of things that you don't understand doesn't necessarily mean that the plant wants that to happen to it. Sometimes all it wants is the fact that you may not have pruned it. And so if you have a plant that's kind of leggy looking, like, oh, we'll pick on the pothos for a second. You don't prune a pothos, you'll see that the leaves are actually further and further apart from each other. But if you were to pinch off the apical growing point, that's going to stop it from growing further, and it'll wake up some buds that are along the rest of that vine, and it'll start to grow. No repotting necessary. Now, the other thing is that, and I mentioned it earlier, you can take and you could see roots coming out of the bottom of the plant. Well, those roots are sometimes okay. They're just reaching out. They're stretching. They're going like this. You could snip those off. No problem there. And the plants are okay. So again, if you have and you want to pot it up, you don't want to pot up based on the size of the container. You don't want a big one. We only want to go to 1 inch higher. Sometimes we could use the same exact container. So here's the dealio. When you get a potted houseplant, you're going to take and you want to slip it out of the container. Now, if the container is just really rooted up and gnarly and all that, that's one thing. And especially if the roots, if there's more roots than soil, you got a problem there. That's a good time to pot the plant up. But tight-knit roots on the container, that's not the end of the world. Now, the other thing that's not the end of the world is if the roots are white or tan. But once they start getting brown and you see some dying stuff going on there, then that right there, that's an issue. So I would take and I would pot it up at that point. Now, there are other things that would be indications, and that would be the leaves drying out, maybe the plant starting to get full of insects and diseases, and just getting the technical term is yucky, and that right there could be a problem. But think about this for a second. If you were to pour it, when you were to water, and whilst you are watering, is the water just whooshing out of the bottom real quick? If you've got yourself some whooshing going on, then you're going to whoosh that you potted the plant up. See what I did there? That was a play on words. You want to wish that you plant the pot up because there's no soil in there. So now you can take and you can pull the plant out. And when you pull the plant out, you could take and trim off some of the roots. Remember my rule, never prune off any more than 1/3 of the overall roots. And then when you're done, you're not going to prune off more than 1/3 of the overall growth on top, because whatever you take off on the bottom, you got to take off on top as well. So get your pot that is only going to be 1 inch, no more than 2 inches bigger. You can get a decorative pot or something like that. Let me get this over here. I'll give you an example. So if we're going to repot this up, which we probably wouldn't because it really likes to be on the root bound side, then your pot should be 1 inch. That means a 1/2 inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side. So I got to tell you right now. So this is a 6-inch pot. If you were to find, you're not going to find a 7-inch pot. You may in a custom situation. A custom situation meaning a pot that is decorative. You might be able to do that. Like a porcelain pot or something like that. You probably can get that. But typically, if it's a 6-inch, you're going to go for an 8-inch pot. So you'll have 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on that side. That's what's going to get you your extra. That's what's going to get your extra inch on there, and that's okay. Okay, so that means the bottom of it is going to be that much as well. So kind of keep that in mind when you do that. Then you need to get fresh potting mix. You just don't use what's left. You do not go out into the garden and into your planter beds and dig up any kind of dirt from there. That's a different kind of soil that isn't compatible to what you're using here inside of your houseplants in the first place. So just bust out your piggy bank, and you're going to be buying a new container anyhow, right? So you might as well just get a little bit of extra potting soil. Then when you get your potting soil, make sure there's holes on the bottom of it, of the container, I should say. And then you have a saucer for the bottom. And then if you need to, get a pebble or something, or even screen material, cover the holes up so that you have drainage, but it doesn't wash that brand new potting soil that you bought out of the container. And that would be a problem, wouldn't it now? Now that you have that, now take your plant, before you put it inside, kind of tickle the roots a little bit. You don't have to bust them all up or anything like that, but you can loosen them just a little bit. And if you have to, I told you about the pruning. You can cut out and just do about 1/3 of the 1/4 to 1/3 of the roots. Don't worry about that part, okay? Just don't worry about that part. Just stick with the 1/4, and that's all the way around, not 1/4 on one side. You do it evenly all the way around. Then you're gonna have to put a little bit of soil, pack it down with your hand, okay? Compress it a little bit. Put your container inside. Not your container. Put your plant inside, and then squish the soil around. Do not bury it any deeper than the top of the soil level that the plant came out of in the first place. Water it, and then stand back, because that thing is going to grow so fast, it's going to end up poking you in the eye. That's a good thing. All right, that's how we're going to do that, okay?